Haber Global YouTube kanalında bugün ben İlke Canpolat sizlerle spor ekonomisini masaya yatıracağız. Çok da değerli bir konuğumuz var. Capital Sports Media'nın CEO'su Tim Mangnall konuğumuz olacak. Welcome Mr. Mangnall.
Thank you.
First of all, how about the incomes and the football industry incomes in this pandemic period? In the world, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think every sport, every industry around the world has been affected by the pandemic, but I think sports more than most. I think every club around the world has had to look at new revenue ideas, look at their rights holders, and look at the way they can really monetize existing assets that they've got. So I think every club from the Premier League to the Super League to La Liga has had to reinvent themselves a little bit and engage with their sponsors and their brands to find new ways to maximize the assets that they already have and also still deliver on the promises that they've given to their sponsors and their current brands.
How much can brands get into this economy? Because we know about the brands on jerseys and but in the stadiums also now there are many brands. So how many brands in worldwide get in this economy?
I mean, for a single club, you can have upwards of 45 brands. There's some clubs that are doing it extremely well in terms of their sponsors. I think the development of technology, I think the implementation of technology across a number of clubs is opening more opportunities for brands that we wouldn't necessarily see coming into that sector. So, I mean, you take clubs like Man City, for example, they're bringing on partners from New Zealand and Australia and just local partners and regional partners. And I think with the development of new digital screens into stadiums, virtual overlay, augmented reality, selling international rights, the number of brands that a club can bring in is endless, really. On average, and what we're seeing with the clubs that we work with is that we're working with them to identify new revenue models and new assets to bring in new brands, because the shirt sponsor is fantastic, but there's so many other digital outlets now, and connecting through your LED screens, your digital virtual carpets, to your social media, to apps that really, depending on the needs of the brands, every club has a solution for a brand as well.
What do you think about the potential and maybe the brands look so in the Turkish league?
I think more than any other country anywhere in the world, Turkey has the biggest opportunity to develop. I mean, you've got 81 million people here, on average around 50% of the population are avid football fans. You've got a very young, tech-savvy demographic that are involved in football. So I think the potential for Turkey is astronomical, and I think with the development, the Super League is still probably a couple of years behind the likes of the Premier League and La Liga and the Bundesliga, but for us that gives us huge encouragement to be able to develop the market and implement these new technology and create a network that will hopefully entice new brands into the sector. And I think already we're seeing through our partnerships in Turkish football, we're seeing new brands enter this space. We're also working with brands in the UK to bring them over here, because Turkey as a market for consumers is huge. So for any consumer brand looking to get into sport that is present in Turkey, I think there's huge opportunity to work with us and work with football clubs to deliver something that other media channels may not be able to deliver.
How about your expectations of the income potential for Turkey from the whole world brands?
I think that there's huge potential. I think big brands, especially from China and America, that we're seeing are looking to Turkey, just given the huge consumer base that you have here. So in terms of numbers, I mean, when we look at some of the clients that we are bringing over, we're bringing completely new clients into the sector. So it's obviously a 100% increase when we bring those in. And it's also about developing the relationships that we've got with other brands outside of Turkey and then opening them up to the opportunity that is here. So working with our club partners, we are looking and implementing new research to be able to share that with our partners, to be able to show them the huge potential that's that's in the Turkish market.
Did you come to the agreement? There are other clubs in Turkey, you know. Also, you invest in Galatasaray now. We know that. But how about the discussions about with the other clubs also in Turkey?
We're of course looking and speaking with a number of other clubs in the market. Our aim and our vision is to create a network of the leading clubs in Turkey, and obviously we've started with
First four, we can
Galatasaray. You can speculate, but of course we want to bring on more clubs and we want to bring in a network. And as soon as we start creating that network, that will open up opportunities for brands to come in that were potentially worried about alienating one fan base over the other, because we of course know the passion of Turkish football, and the Turkish football fans. So by creating that network, we can move away from one club or focus on one club, and then we can start working very heavily with the advertising agencies that we're looking to do in creating a network and start buying and trading that media in a new and more digital focused way.
Maybe we can talk also about the potential upgrade of the whole league in Turkey. How do you think about it?
I think the development of the league, we have to work together. I mean, our vision as Capital Sports Media is to change the landscape of sport, but the only way we're going to do that is by working with all of the clubs together, working with the brands and working with the agencies as well. And by creating that and working as one, we will then see the rise of sport within Turkey, which obviously will have a huge economic benefit. I think we've seen, due to the pandemic, the huge issue that this has caused, from fans not being allowed into the stadium to sport being cancelled. So by working together with all of the clubs, by opening up new revenues and creating this network, by doing that we're changing the landscape of sport. We're implementing our vision, which I think is going to be a benefit not only to the clubs but to the agencies, to the brands themselves, and also to the fans, by getting more engagement, more content and more exciting brands into the sport.
How about the market size? Because you know that we are passing through a period, just like spectator-free period, about the leagues. So, is it positive or negative for you?
It's obviously a negative for all the football clubs not having fans in there. I think the passion that fans bring to all of the stadiums in Turkey, it's unrivaled. So on that front, it is of course...
The passion of watching also, isn't it?
Of course, the passion, the excitement, the energy when you walk into Fenerbahce or Galatasaray or Besiktas Stadium. I mean, it's unrivaled, I think, anywhere in the world. So without having that, it feels very different when you're inside the stadiums. However, on the plus side, what the pandemic has created, and fans not being in the stadium, it's allowed us to experiment with new formats, new digital formats, look at new areas within the stadium that maybe hadn't been monetized before. It allows the broadcasters to play with different camera angles to see what is the best in terms of for the customer, in terms of what engages them the most, what gets them closer to the action, but also for the consumer brands as well and for the partners of the club. So I think it's given us a period that we will probably never see again, where brands can really stop and engage with their assets and look at how to either digitalize them, change them, or actually bring in new formats to open up new revenue streams. So there is a plus and a minus, of course. I mean, football is not football without the fans, and that will always be the case. But if we can learn from this period and implement those new media formats when fans are in the stadium, I think it will be fantastic.
How is brands' expectations about this period? How much is what it will still?
I mean, brands' budgets, as we know, it's the first thing in any crisis to get cut, which is a challenge. But what live football has given brands is it's given brands an outlet that a lot of other TV channels out of home, we know footfall's been down because of people being in lockdown. We know that production companies for movies, TVs, all of that has been slowed down, so there's not as many new programs coming out. So live football is one of the only engaging live contents on TV that brands can connect themselves with and associate themselves with. And we've seen new brands coming into this market that we hadn't seen before, purely for that reason, because they want to connect with their audience. And actually, you look at the viewership figures, because there is nothing new or relatively new on TV apart from live sport. Actually, brands are looking at this to then engage with an audience that they may have used different channels for in the past.
What percentage of the average income for a club generates extra income for in the stadium advertising deal we are talking about?
I think in terms of the digital assets that we work with and the social media, depending on how forward-thinking the clubs are, it can be anywhere up to 35% of the total sponsorship revenue. Of course, the big naming rights in terms of the stadiums and the shirt sponsorships always take the headlines, but what we don't hear about is the deals behind the scenes on the LEDs and the social media and the digital channels such as the apps. And actually what we're championing and what we're changing as Capital Sport Media is changing that mindset of people and changing the clubs to really shout about the digital partners that they have, because these are probably some of the most visible assets you see on, for example, the LED perimeter boards. So up to 35% clubs can see revenue from digital assets alone.
Yesterday I saw an interview that Oli Ren, you know, about FIFA. He is one of the most important directors of FIFA. So he said that it will be a cost to the whole football sector. It will be $14 billion at all. So what do you think about it? Is it a huge?
Yeah,
huge cost?
Yeah, of course it's a huge cost. I mean, never in our lives before have we seen every single live piece of sport get cancelled, whether it be football, basketball, tennis. I mean, and I don't think we'll ever see that again. And obviously with football being one of the most popular sports in the world, around the world, I completely agree with that number. And it's going to take a long time for us to rebuild and get there. But I think because of it, as I've mentioned, it's opened the door to new opportunities. So we will find new areas of revenue, and I think the football industry and the clubs will come back from this stronger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mangnall.
My pleasure, thank you.